Slay the Spire 2 just launched, and I'm going to be honest, it's way too early for a full review. But after a handful of runs, one thing already stood out to me and I had to make this video. This game might be even more addictive than the original. Not because it's massively bigger, not because it's radically different, which it is both, but because it introduces just enough new systems to make every run feel a little more unpredictable and a little harder to put down. And if you've ever played the original Slay the Spire, or if you haven't, you probably already know how dangerous that sentence already is. So instead of reviewing this game, as I usually do on my channel, I want to talk about something a little different today. Why Slay the Spire 2 already feels so addictive and why the just one more run syndrome might be even stronger than ever. If you're new here, I usually cover roguelikes and roguelites and try to answer a simple question: who is this game actually for? But today I want to look at something a little more specific. Instead of reviewing Slay the Spire 2, I want to break down why the game's systems make it so hard to stop playing. Because the original Slay the Spire didn't just become one of the most beloved deck builders ever made, it also created one of the strongest roguelike addiction loops in gaming, on top of probably creating its own genre. And after playing the sequel for quite a bit, it feels like that loop has only gotten stronger. The first Slay the Spire worked because it mastered something that roguelikes rely on: meaningful randomness. Every run gave you different cards, relics and events. But those random elements weren't chaotic. Instead, they constantly asked a single question: can you build something interesting out of this? Maybe you start with poison cards. Then suddenly you find relics that reward stacking debuffs. Then an event upgrades half your deck. And before you know it, you've built a strategy you've never played. And that moment, when a run suddenly clicks into something powerful, is what makes the game so compelling. Because every run begins with curiosity. What kind of build will I end up with this time? Slay the Spire 2 keeps that exact philosophy, but it also introduces several new systems that make those runs evolve in more unpredictable ways. One of the biggest differences in Slay the Spire is how runs can suddenly change direction because of new mechanics introduced during the run. For example, the game now includes quests. These appear during a run and ask you to complete a specific challenge or challenges in exchange for powerful rewards. Sometimes that reward is a relic, sometimes it's a powerful modifier, and sometimes it pushes your deck into an entire different strategy. The important part is that quests create mid-run goals. Instead of just climbing the tower, you suddenly have another objective, and that objective might completely change how you play the run. The game also introduces card enchantments and afflictions. These can modify cards in unusual ways, sometimes making them stronger, but sometimes also introducing drawbacks. That means cards can evolve beyond their base versions and their upgraded versions, which we had in the base game. A card you picked early in the run might behave very differently by the end of it. And that constantly evolving deck is one of the key things that keeps the game interesting, at least in my opinion, because it never feels like your strategy is finished. Another major reason Slay the Spire 2 feels fresh is the introduction of new characters with completely different mechanics. Two of the early characters already highlight this. For example, the Regent uses a system centered around stars, a new resource that can amplify certain cards. Managing those stars becomes a strategic layer on top of your normal deck building. Meanwhile, the Necrobinder introduces the Doom mechanic, which builds up over time and triggers powerful effects. Instead of just playing cards efficiently, you're also managing this growing resource that can dramatically change the outcome of fights. These kind of mechanics do something very important for roguelikes. They make every run feel like a different puzzle, and that naturally encourages experimentation, because every time you unlock a new card or relic, you start wondering, what happens if I combine this with that? One of the biggest surprises in Slay the Spire 2 is the addition of co-op multiplayer. The original game was purely a solo experience, but the sequel allows players to climb the spire together. And this changes the game in some interesting ways. Players can share rewards, and certain cards interact with teammates, as well as builds can complement each other or not. One player might focus on defense, and another might build a high damage combo deck. And suddenly your run isn't just about your own deck, it's about how your deck interacts with someone else's strategy. That alone opens up a completely new layer of experimentation. And for a game that's already built around discovery and experimentation, that's a huge deal. All of these systems feed into the most dangerous feature of roguelikes: the just one more run trap. You finish a run, maybe you lose to a boss, maybe you win, but you feel like your build had more potential. And instead of quitting, you start thinking, okay, but what if the next run goes even better? Or can I try this one in the next run? Slay the Spire 2 makes that feeling even stronger because every run leaves unfinished ideas. Maybe you discovered a card enchantment you want to explore more. Maybe a quest reward almost completely changed the strategy. Maybe your Doom mechanic was about to spiral out of control and you want to see it again or even harder. Or maybe you just want to try a completely different build with a new character. And that constant sense of unfinished potential is what makes this game so hard to stop playing. Again, it's still very early. There's a lot more to discover in Slay the Spire 2. But even after dozens of runs, one thing already feels clear. The sequel understands exactly what made the original game so compelling, and instead of trying to completely reinvent it, it just adds new systems that create more discovery, more experimentation, and more unpredictable runs. It's just a better, bigger version of the first game, which naturally leads to the most dangerous phrase in roguelike gaming, just one more run. But I'm curious what you think. Have you already tried Slay the Spire 2? And how many hours did you already put in because of the one more run loop? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm really interested to see if you have similar issues as I do. And if you enjoy roguelikes and roguelites like this one, you might find a few more interesting ones on the channel as well. Thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.